Hey, what's up? I wanted to talk about my chronic boredom as a narcissist and how that goes about in my life. Yeah, I'm pretty indifferent half of the time, and I don't actually know if I've ever experienced true, genuine happiness in my life because I've realized that as far as I could remember, I didn't really need to look within myself to know as to whether or not I was having a good time, and I kind of realized that it's not necessarily having a good time that I'm actually after. It's the escape that comes from having a good time. And I know a lot of people talk about how nothing is ever good enough for a narcissist, and I don't know about like what other people with NPD like might say, but at least I think for myself I've concluded that nothing is probably good enough for me because of this chronic boredom. Because of this chronic boredom, I have a hard time settling for, I don't know, actually understanding that there's like quote unquote like meaning to anything. Because I always thought that I've seen things more realistically than most people. That, every start essentially just comes from like, you know, a defeated end, because there's a high and then there's like a low. I've always attributed everything as something similar to like essentially a drug addiction, like filling in a void, because yeah, there is a void inside of me which is bottomless and can never actually be filled. And I think this is particularly the reason why the only genuine emotions I've ever felt were ones of like frustration and anger, because I realize just how blank and empty everything is. And, there are certain things that I guess distort that. And I think this is why it makes it hard for me to deal with people in general, because, oh, they're so full of life as they say it. They know who they are, they whatever, and this and that. I always see it as like too dramatic and like extra, because for me it's more like I just want to exist peacefully within my nothingness. So it's like whenever there's something, too flashy or something that's like, like getting in like my way, so to speak, I get this like annoyed feeling. And if it's like really bad, I just want to like put a stop to it. I just want to like, shut it down. And I think this is where a lot of people get this idea that like narcissists just want to like ruin like everyone's day or something. And what they don't see is, somebody like, I guess to put it in ways that's like super like simple, like if you've, let's say, had like a long stressful day at work, and then like your one friend in particular like wants to do something, or anything like that, and what you would really like to do is just perhaps like lay down or just chill. Imagine that feeling right there, like 24/7. And I think that's what you'll be able to understand from me and perhaps like other narcissists, not to speak for like anybody else, but yeah, I would like essentially put it, in those words. You would be as exhausted and irritated as we are, and I only say that because I know a lot of people, look at us as very like, energy vampires and like whatnot. So yeah, I have this, sense of like nothingness, which is, yeah, obvious. But then like other times I kind of realize that like I'm irritated at existence itself, because yes, I'm nihilistic, I'm empty inside, I see how empty everything truly is, and it's almost like existence shouldn't really be here. So I kind of hate the fact that I'm like aware of like stuff, and I have like my own like, let's say, sensory experiences and like whatnot. And maybe it's not an issue for other people because they have this like better concept of like who they are, they can sit with themselves. I feel like because I take that more detached point of view, and I think it helps because there's nothing within my core. Yeah, I see everything for like what it actually like truly is, and kind of like what I said before, like every single start has an end. So I kind of just realized that every single time I live my life and there's no like fun hedonistic thing to distract myself, like let's say if it's not for weed or alcohol or anything like that, my only options are I can either kill myself right now or I can essentially like wait to die. Because I know that after every action, you know, yeah, it ends like to like taking care of myself, like whatever, like brushing my teeth, eating, whatever, anything like that to, maintain this like annoying flesh of a body that like we have to deal with and stuff. And yeah, it's kind of just like it's like super irritating because like this existence is just like completely contradictory. And I think because people, and I realize that I'm the weird one. I know I have the MPD, like the disorder in particular. Yes, so I think I know this separates me from like other people, but I feel like most people can't see the world as realistically as I do because they have that like developed, I guess, like sense of self, which I will admit I am kind of jealous of. Like sometimes, yeah, they, I don't know, really like cherish their experience, and it's like they're more deluded in the fact that like, oh, we're just biology, we're just like wirings that do this and that, and eventually we're just gonna die and either end up as like ashes or fucking food for the maggots underground. Like because they have this like, I don't know, idea of like, oh my gosh, my wholeness, I want to be this, I want to do that, or I want to like aspire to do this, and I have like none of that. I see everything for like what it is. Like I don't have to call it goals, I don't have to call it like ambition. I just see it as like from like the detached logical way that it is. It's a process, it's nothing more, nothing less, like regardless of like whatever I do, start to finish, I piece it in my mind and then that's it, nothing more, nothing less. But most people, they have this like energy to, I guess, like feel that they're really like a part of something. They feel like they're, I don't know, like taking control of like their destiny. But I'm just like, nah, man, you're just decaying. You're gonna like rot. Like there are people dying of like extremely like horrible like diseases and stuff, and we say that they're dying, but like in actuality, everybody is dying 24/7. Our time will come eventually. People die every day, and at some point your day will be the one where everything cuts away and like fades to black. And I think when most people die, they're still going to be as deluded as they are. They're going to look back and think to themselves like, oh yeah, these were like nice memories and like things like that. I'm not even entirely sure if I'll be able to like experience that. I mean, I know you can say I won't truly know until maybe I'm dead, like dying, like within like on my deathbed, within like my final days. But because I already know that I'm gonna die, and I think about that every single day, like not in a suicidal way per se, but like I think about the fact that like I'm gonna die every single day because that is the most concrete thing that I know. Like I can't even imagine thinking, okay, what will I miss? What will I like truly like regret or something? Because like I knew this happened, and it makes me sound like I don't really care about anything. But the thing is, I don't really know what caring about something actually is. I know how to say that. I know how to perhaps like emulate that, and to like the best of my ability towards the people that, let's say, I'm gonna like care about, I show that. And I know that when I say it, it doesn't sound like it's authentic to other people because I don't know how to say it in a way that is authentic to other people. Because you know people say that like, okay, it's not just something you're supposed to do, like it's something that like you truly want. But if you ask me to like, okay, like how do I care about something, how do I have like like let's say like passion for something, I don't see the difference between that and thinking of like, okay, what are the structures that like I'm supposed to perform. So I don't know, I'm just bored, and it's the only thing I've known pretty much my entire life, and nothing fills that void. So I guess Yeah, that's why I think about death a lot, because it's like no matter how hard I try, and this is why I think life is a contradiction. That's why I think of goals as like stupid and like things like that. It's just like, fancy ways for people to say, oh, we're distracting ourselves. I can admit that I'm distracting myself. So I feel like other people can't admit that. A lot of people can't admit that. So yeah, so they have to say like, the more fancy sort of like words. But yeah, I would say that like, okay, life itself doesn't even care about like life itself. Like you have to delude yourself into saying that like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna strive for this, I'm gonna do that. But like you will die eventually. So you can like, play the mental gymnastics in your mind as much as you want. And I feel like that's what an identity is personally. And I'm aware it's coming from my, I know, distorted perception, as like most people would say, because they don't have MPD like I do, most people anyway. That like, yeah, I just don't get it. And like, yeah, truth be told, I truly just, do not understand it. Like it's not something that I can like fathom as like real, because I think of people, I think of like myself, like we're just these like entities, I guess. And there's just like random labels, sure, or like whatever. But then, you know, it's just, yeah, like it's false. It's an illusion. So if I want to care for somebody, like I'm doing it in the best way that like I think makes sense. But I feel like I don't really know how to properly explain that. Like even though I see it as an obligation, perhaps I can say it's like an obligation that like I want, quote unquote, because like I think this is what makes everything like really difficult, because I think like because I don't have like much of like a personality myself, it's either just grandiosity or I feel like a fucking loser. I feel down on myself, that it's like after all of that is gone, I'm just there and I'm truthfully just like existing as like who we're, supposed to be. Because like you can look at a worm like wiggling around, and I kind of think that like us as humans are like technically no different. We just have like, I don't know, an inflated sense to call something cooler than like what it actually is, because like, oh, we do movements all the time, I'm moving right now, blah blah, this and that. Oh, this thing is knocking down this other thing, in the sense that like, oh, we must create these like idea of encapsulated events within our mind to hold our psyche together in a way that like doesn't actually make sense. Because if anything, we could just sit here and essentially wait till we die. We can eat like the bare minimum of food that doesn't even like taste good. But no, humans need the lies and all their distractions. And I think, yeah, they can't deal with the fact that like, like they're nothing, like we're nothing, essentially. I mean, ignorance is bliss, and that's really how I want to put it. If you can lie to yourself that like you are somebody, then okay, good for you. Like I'm not even necessarily saying that like one or the other like makes more sense. I kind of just think we as people throw shit against the wall hoping that like something sticks, but like, it's the same end goal. And like that's what I mean. Like not even end goal in the sense of like satisfaction, because people are like, oh, what are your end goals or something like that. Like that's all everything is in its essence, the end. And we try our best to like preserve, oh, this start and this end is like something that like matter, but like no, this always maintains like the end of something. Like, and the end of something wouldn't even need a start, because without that start it would just be nothing. And in a way you can think of nothingness and things that end as pretty much like synonymous with each other. Everything eventually takes over within like the black void of like the true like carelessness, worthlessness, stupidity of this like ridiculous, you know sort of existence. But yeah, so I'm bored for that reason. But then again, who cares, right?